Alright, so, as you guys already know, alright, at the end of my videos, every single one, okay, the promo code is Dakanoth. You can download Legend of Mushroom through here, alright, and then you got the AppCoins wallet. It's really straightforward. You just click on this, it'll take you to the website, you hit download, alright. You go ahead and download it. You can do it on your phone, you can do it on your computer, whichever way you want to do it. If you do it on your computer, I can kind of explain it, but more or less what you're going to do is you're going to download Nox, BlueStacks, whatever you want to do, and then you'll import the APK that you download here, and then you'll also want to grab the AppCoins wallet, which you'll get here, okay? And you want to download both of these. Basically, the AppCoins wallet is a cryptocurrency wallet that you'll use to be able to buy transactions on Legend of Mushroom. And again, this is an easy way to save money, so honestly, if you guys are wanting to play this game regularly like I do, this is the way to do it. Alright? But what you do is, once you've got your AppCoins wallet set up, then you'll go into the rewards tab and put in Dakanoth. Again, the instructions are relatively straightforward, as you can see. And once you've got the AppCoins wallet all set up and everything's all ready to go, you can pretty much just hop straight into the game. And from here, you know, it's relatively straightforward. So like right now there's Fortune Cat going on. I can go to recharge. All right. If, for example, I want to buy $300 worth of gems, all right, I am going to get $300 and then I am going to get that much back on top of that. All right. So if you can't see the benefit, then yeah, I'll leave it to you. But if you want to see how it works, it's relatively straightforward. I mean, you gain credits. You can turn around and use those credits to then acquire, like you can see here. And then really, from there, once you've got your credits, you've got your diamonds, you can then go and jump in and invest. So like right now, if I wanted to invest $1, here we go. And just like that, hey, magically I now have $2.50 just from $1. Okay, that's Fortune Cat going on right now, but that's, you know, one of many examples of what you can do. If that is something that interests you, make sure to take advantage of it down in the description below. Now, today we've got quite a bit going on. As you guys already probably have heard, as I was telling you, that Firework Fest or New Year's event, right? We've got Carnival Night. This is where you can get 2 items. In question, you can get the Countdown Blast, the Double-Edged String, and then long-awaited Cheetah Zero that I've been telling you guys, if you don't already splurge, this is the one to get, of all the ones that you could get. Now, the problem is how do you go about getting this? Well, the problem is in order to get Cheetah Zero, you've got to go over 1,000 draws, which for most people, that's $1,000. But then you've got to do it again. So even in order to even acquire the Cheetah Zero, you've got a pretty heavy amount. So if you're getting 5, 10, or even 20% back, that's, you know, that's not going to be as hefty of a cost if that's something that's, you know, if that's what you're wanting to achieve. Now, as for the current items, we've got Countdown Blast going on, which I honestly think this item's pretty interesting in the fact that it's going to give you a shield up to 16% of your max HP, and it's going to cost 10% of your HP to do it. When you have that active, though, right, you cannot use basic attack, combo, counter, and active skills, but once the shield disappears, then you're going to do 1200% current basic, 1200% combo, and then 4,000 skills. So for me, I'm looking at this like mages are going to love this. This is going to be the go-to item for mages right now, and just for that alone. But then, to add insult to injury, it also increases PAL damage by 200, which, okay, big deal, not a big deal, really. But as for the other item, which is the Chrono Reversal, okay, this item for Chrono Prism is kind of interesting in the fact that really all it's going to do is when your enemies are down 60%, it's just going to drop their resistances by about 10%. Otherwise, it's going to reduce their attack by 10%, which is interesting. So it'll either do one of two things. It'll either drop their resistance by 10% or it'll drop their attack by 10%. And then after the first 20 seconds of the battle, the reduction effects all activate for all enemies. So that kind of has its use in PvE, but in PvP, I don't know. It seems like a little bit more of an advanced item. Now, overall, with Carnival of Night, the main thing here, if anything, is you want to go into the happiness shop and you can grab some gift bags to give some friends if you want. You can also go and get into the brand new journey, and you can get access to this item here, which, as you all probably are aware, okay, is another pal. And again, getting these pals is not kind of an easy thing to go about getting. Like, for $10, that's what it's going to cost you in order to get that pal. But, again, like anything, with New Year's banquet going on, you can grab some extra stuff there. If anything, the one thing of value, though, is if you go to the joy match, and here you can actually go and get, it's just matching. I mean, it's basically, if you guys know what Tetris is, this is basically Tetris. But you'll go through, do Tetris, and then you can get some free rockets, which you can then use over in the actual Carnival Night event. So it's not a terribly difficult thing to do, but if that's something that interests you, then it's totally there. That said, though, that is one of the major things I wanted to discuss today. The other thing is, as of right now, as you guys have heard, the star array is a big thing right now. Like, right now I've got these two items, and again, Star Hero Draw, I had somebody ask me, like, how do you actually draw? All right, the main thing is you got to get these pack coins, and if you're wondering, how do I get pack coins? It's not really hard. All you got to do is log in, and you got to kill 150 enemies, and you'll actually get these as rewards every day. So you're going to get at least 2 draws if you've done this, because it's about 200 coins per draw, which makes this relatively easy as far as if that is something that you're ultimately wanting to get, right? Because then all you got to do is go down here, click Star Hero Draw, and hit Draw, and it'll use it, and you'll be able to draw on random. And it honestly doesn't really, you don't really have a good draw on what Star Hero you're going to get. I will say, though, that if you're wanting more draws rather than the ones that you get free to play, right, then you just go over into the shop, and there is one place that you can go to, which is the pack shop. And in here, the Genie of Wishes, which is $50, is going to give you basically better lamp speed. It's pretty overpowered in that and compared to a lot of the other Star Heroes that are out there, this one's going to be really good if you're wanting to increase the number of lamps that you throw. So for those of you that have been playing prior to this update, that's going to be a massive boon to anybody, because that's just going to make it that much faster to pretty much get gear faster. I mean, that's really about all the advantage that this has. But you also get 20 pack coupons. Otherwise, the only other option you have is you can go down in the limited time shop, and if you scroll down, you can get 5 for $5, or basically $1 a coupon, which, not gonna lie, kind of expensive. But that is kind of the value placement that they have with those at the moment. As far as whether these are worth it or not, I've right now happen to have the Faithful Guardian, so I've already got a increased capacity, and it's going to pop for 25 hours. So just by having them in there, I now have a pickaxe capacity of plus 12. The nice thing about this is now if, let's say, I wanted to raise a star, I've got a star up, which means in order to get it, I've got to basically have multiple copies of that particular Guardian. I just got really lucky. That said, that's really about all that really goes into that as far as the Star Heroes go. I did have somebody also ask on my channel not that long ago, all right, well, hold on, which avian should I be trying to get? Like, don't stress, all right? I'm a Plume Monarch, so I'm going to go ahead and give you kind of my idea of what you really need to be looking at, which is you need to be paying attention to anything that gives you global combo, all right? Because these scale as they level up. So you have 2 things you have to consider, both the amount of growth, which again is how quickly can they level up. You want to be able to get a very high growth. A high growth is 1.5. So anything north of like 1.0 or higher is going to be substantially better. Anything lower than that is going to be that much more expensive to level. So you really kind of want to focus on that element, but then there's also the other factor, which is the actual passives that come along with this particular avian. Plus, you also need to think about what exactly is their active skill. Now, in the case of the new avian Magic Cat, every 15 seconds, mind you, in PvP, this is not as useful, right? But it's basically going to kick off some skill damage. It's going to do some combo. It's going to do some counter. But one thing I like about it is it drops the random active skill by 2 seconds, which is thus going to make it much more likely to proc, which is therefore going to reduce the amount of combo damage resistance that whoever I'm hitting is going to get that much lower in. And that's advantageous from that perspective. Is it the best possible avian in that slot, though? No. I mean, traditionally, okay, anybody or everybody that's been playing this for a while, okay, they'll all tell you you want to use Sunshine Bringer if you're wanting to get a drop in the amount of duration control. And again, if you don't know what duration control is, think of this as like, this is what, when you get stunned, you get like knocked, disarmed, what have you. This is what's controlling how long you're going to be screwed. So, if anything, this is really, really helpful to have an anti-towards. Okay? But that said, there are also different angles. Like you could go with the coconut ball, for example, and increase your attack speed, which is going to increase the amount of attacks that you do in a given period of time. You know, but as far as like best possible item for a Plume Monarch right now, I mean, it kind of varies, you know, because you probably have heard about what Michelle has to offer and the fact that the number of hits that you do are then going to be turned into damage that you can then flip and do stuns on. This is handy because I've never really quite played around with it yet, but I am trying to get the right passives on Michelle, and I'm going to start testing this out with the Plume Monarch and actually see if that's actually worthwhile. Because while, yeah, you can active skills stun, do faster, right, it makes more sense to be able to stun and actually do damage in PvP. And a lot of that all has to come down to the fact that when you're dealing with a lot of the super pay-to-wins, like if you're doing crossover rank matches and you're in Grandmaster 2 like I was for a little while, it's tough. Okay, I mean, part of the reason why you're going to have a really tough time going through cross-ranked arena is you have to really consider the fact that there are some people that, rather than just, like, get the actual mount, they fully star that mount, which is excess of, like, 10 grand or more. Like, there are some people that are absolutely bonkers in the way that they go about doing this. But again, I really like using Alien Dimension. I really am glad that I was able to get the Catholic Candelabrum, which gives me a really cool spectral chant, which is basically giving me HP every time I attack. With that enchant and that increasing the, because again, with this in tandem, it's actually kind of ridiculous because of all the increase to attack speed, energy regen. Like, that's huge. But then you take that in combination with Cheetah Zero, it's ridiculous. Okay, you pair those three together, it's actually like changed the way I've even played this class. Now, it's not by all means the best in slot, but it's really good. And if anything, all I'm trying to do now is just try to get eternal crate and combo pieces. That's it. And that's the name of the game. Now, as far as the actual enchants go, I know I've had some people that are like, oh, you should use 4 crit 2 combo. I don't know. I've played with this back and forth, and I'm only looking for global combo. If anything, I'm paying very close attention to any of these mythic, legendary pieces that are going to give me a really high combo rate, and that's all I care about at this point. I mean, obviously, if I get crit damage bonus, I'm going to take that in essence, but it's just a matter of getting the right draws on the right particular stat pieces, and until I get that, I'm just going to continuously stack. So you might notice I have a stupid amount, and I'm just waiting to get the right pieces so I can max those and go from there. That's really, I think, the best way to go about doing your enchants. Now, as far as, like, the actual, souls, right now I've got 30 into this. Biggest boon, I think, for me is it going heavy on defense and then going heavy on attack. And then I'm just now bringing up my HP up a little bit. I'm bringing basically as much combo damage as I can filter into it, and as much crit damage as I can into it. And the reason why is if you look at the actual stats, right, you're doing 90 to 100, and ultimately that's the goal here, is getting 100% crit, 100% combo, and then once we have that, we can then really buff up the amount of attack bonus we have, the amount of defense bonus, and the amount of HP bonus. And that's going to make us that much more difficult to fight in PvP. Now, as far as the actual pals go, all right, I'm using Benny, I use Treasure Dragon, the bird, I'm using the banana, and then I've got the eggplant. There are different ways to approach this, though. Like, I could take Benny out. If I want to go, like, say, like a dodge build, for example, all you have to do, really, is you go over in here, you go over into your talents, and then really all you got to do is look for anything or everything that gives you evasion. I mean, that's really all you got to do. Buff your evasion up past 190, and you're going to be really hard to fight, and the amount of dodge that you have. Now, there are different builds out there that you can do. And again, this is purely looking at it from a Plume Monarch standpoint, but there are different ways to approach this. And you don't have to be strictly like one or the other. But I'm just giving you some options. Now, you might be noticing, what exactly are you using for skills? This is the current skill roster that I use in PvE, but if I was going to go into PvP, all I do is take Clone Strike out, and you want to use something like, probably Disarm, or you can use Dazzled. I tend to take Worldly Snare out because it doesn't proc as fast as you need it to, and you're actually probably better off throwing in something like Take It Slow, or you can throw in Easy Breezy to kind of reduce the amount of damage they do. Now, this particular Blade Pierce isn't as handy. That, again, is more of a PvE elemented item because it works great on scaling on large damage HP targets, but not really so much in PvP. Here, this is where I think running Disarm probably makes more of a gain. But once you have all of those items in place, then for the relics, I like to use the Bonded Mask. This is like the roster that I run. The only time I really ever switch this around in any major way is when, like if I'm using a Blitz build, which is to say I'm just basically running your Blitz skill with this, it's going to give you a little bit more basic attack damage. Otherwise, on a good day, I'll use Wild Guess and Blade Pierce for 2.5% HP. Now, you could just as easily go ahead and use Abyss Necklace if you're running like Crimson Moonfall. And again, it all depends on the type of class you are, and what you're wanting to run and what you're doing. I mean, you can even use Storm Necklace even to buff up Clone Strike if you're wanting to, but for most intents and purposes, that's what I use. Now, Stellar Statue is more of an iffy thing here. When you don't plan to have like Worldly Snare and what have you in there, then this actually makes more sense to use Time Statue because you want to buff these up. And since we've got Dazzled and Disarm, obviously that's what we're going to want to do. Now, this is the one place where I struggle because a lot of the time, a lot of people are either going to have deer or cat for their pals, or they're going to have octopus. There's, even the option of going panda, depending on whether or not you want regeneration. I don't need regen because I'm using Spectral Chant to kind of replace that. But, again, if you're going purely like without these particular artifacts, right, then what you would actually want to do is kind of sacrifice a little bit of your combo in replacement for crit rate and regeneration, at least in 2 or maybe even 3 pieces of gear, because what that'll give you in return is some tinkiness that you're going to need in order to really play with this build. But that said, if you've done everything I've suggested so far and you run something like this and everything in between, if you just go up and hop into a ranked match, and again, I've already run all my ranked matches for the day, but like if I just jump in and say if I hit somebody that's 77k, all right, this is going to be a tanky freaking battle. It's going to go back and forth pretty wild. But a lot of the time, I can end up winning just because on the basis of not only having the 3-second timer that you get, which is crazy with Cheetah. I honestly think Cheetah is one of the best, if not the best mount in the game right now. There's only a couple of other mounts that do things that are similar, which is like the Silver Crescent that we'd seen not that long ago. That said, if you really want to tweak and mess with this stuff in any major way, again, this is one of the best times to do it because we've got Fortune Cat going on, and plus you've got some of those newer items to go after. So obviously, like I said from the beginning of this video, make sure to check this out in the description below if you want to take advantage of it, and I'll see you guys next time, and Happy New Year's.